All right, well, this is going to be weird. I tell you what. All right, so I think I'm starting to lose my mental sanity ever so slightly. But, like, just disclosure real quick, I promise you I'm all right, or at least I feel all right now. Really, this video is just for me to kind of talk about myself, to myself, learn what I think about me, why I might be thinking the way I do, what I've kind of noticed, and what I kind of want to do about it. Because I have a problem of internalizing thoughts, and I feel like recording it is the only way to get me to admit certain thoughts. And I thought the only way to present this in the calmest way possible was through this a slideshow. Once again, just a quick disclaimer: these are just my thoughts and knowledge of what I am experiencing and what I think is going on with me. Uh, don't take my words for yourself. This is simply what I'm thinking without like the research I've done or with the research I've only done up to this point. And also, my thoughts can obviously change over time. So first off, here's a fun one: death. So if I were to consider one thing of what I'm fearful of, it would be death. Now, it's a common fear, but that doesn't change the fact that I have it. This one kind of started in high school. I would say maybe around freshman, sophomore year. It was very simple. Just came out of nowhere. It's basically, I was just kind of laying down in bed, and I'm just like, you know what? I could die at any time. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I've seen grandparents, die before. Not like I never saw it, but like I've seen them, right? And I know this didn't cause the fear. I know for a fact that it just kind of appeared out of the blue. When this did happen to me, I would kind of break down. It would just kind of overcloud my mind with the idea, and it maybe happens like it happened like 1 to 2 times a year. I found out that fear of death is probably more of a fear of the unknown in a way. So basically, it's not that I'm going to die, it's that I'm going to die and I don't know what's going to happen that stresses me out. I do know that I'm naturally curious, and I do know that I have a habit of getting obsessed with a topic and then staying over obsessed with said topic. And I can kind of stay in that kind of state of mind of wanting to be super invested in this one hobby for weeks, and then out of nowhere be like, you know what, I'm good, I'm over it. So not having a direct answer to something that really intrigues me, I think might trigger it a bit. There was one point during the COVID period. That's a bad word, I'm sorry. But no, seriously. There was a part of COVID where it actually got worse. And I wasn't sure if it was just like how I was sitting or whatnot at the time. But my chest would just get tight. And me being used to like sitting in a position weirdly for a while and like kind of straining it that way, I would just kind of like massage the chest until it would basically clear itself up, right? It would always work because at that point I just thought it was my muscles, right? And then one day, or it wasn't even a day, it was at night, maybe like 1, 2 a.m. This was before I was a college kid and I was just choosing to go to bed late at night, right? I was just laying down in bed and my chest got tight. And, I started massaging it, like, okay, it's going to go away. And it didn't go away, which made me massage it more, and it would not go away. And at that point, I'm starting to freak out of potential worse things, because, like, normally it would have gone away by that point. Why isn't it going away? You can see where the loop starts kind of happening. Eventually, I freak out so much, my parents were nice enough to where my mom was able to take me to the hospital. I'm fortunate enough to where I can just kind of go to the hospital if I need to and not have to worry too much. Yeah, they did tests on me and I was 100% physically okay. So they're like, yep, you're anxious. Here, take a month's worth of pills. I said, fair enough. Took a pill a day. People suggested that I don't take a pill every day. And honestly, fair enough. Because when I wasn't taking the pills, it still wasn't coming back. Even like a week after it had gone, right? It was already gone. Which made me realize it's just all in my head. Which is such a bizarre concept that like you can visualize things that aren't necessarily true. And then once you're told that that's not what's wrong with you, suddenly it fades away. Because it was never there to begin with. You just thought it was there and your body tricked you into thinking you had that problem. So yeah, right now I would say that this fear of death, it rarely occurs. When it does, I have found a new solution. It's kind of freaky, but basically what I do is I go look in the mirror, stare myself dead in the eyes and say, hey, guess what? You're going to die. And basically try to like force myself to understand that, hey, it's going to happen. Why are you freaking out about it, right? And, I find that it works, right? Because I don't internalize that thought. It's just like, yeah, what am I going to do about it, right? The circle of life, right? All right, my second, a second issue of mine. We got the combination of perfectionism and procrastination. So growing up, I was in a situation to where I really didn't have to do chores. I didn't really have to have really any responsibilities except for one specific thing. And that was to always make sure the grades were high, right? Because a well-educated student can do well, when it goes to getting to college, potentially finding jobs down the road. I understood. And because of that, I always, did my work, right? Now, to be fair, homework would always be an issue, but when has homework not been an issue to people, right? But I would still get the work done. What ended up happening, probably, again, started around high school, it started to backfire on me slightly. So, let's say, essentially, how do I want to word it? Basically, I would do work, and then I would think it wasn't good enough. And I would fear consistently that the amount of time I put into an assignment wasn't enough to get the grade I wanted. It's that whole perfectionism-esque part of me, right? So, I guess it came with its own advantages, right? Because the extra work you put in, either I did good or I did very good, right? But then sometimes it would backfire with things like, well, you focused so much on the assignment that you didn't even put your name on the assignment because you were too worried about the assignment itself. But then you would think that would be bad enough. There's a way around it. You're good. I developed a second habit, procrastination. Now, perfectionism and procrastination should not go together. It's kind of like in chemistry class when you have the two chemicals and for a fact you don't mix them, or you're going to make a poisonous gas and it's going to kill everything, right? Except you're too invested in that combination that you just can't stop combining the two. So when I would procrastinate, it's because when I was growing up, I was always just a little bit ahead of my peers. So the work I was doing, I was getting done very quickly. So it gave me that sense of comfort. And when I had that sense of comfort, it would allow me to essentially put less pressure on myself to get the work done, because I knew for a fact I would get the assignments done, right? I just developed this really good sense of time in my head to where, hey, I know that assignments that are usually this long usually take me this much time. So I'll block off this amount of time to do the work. And now a normal person, I feel, would be like, okay, let me get out a planner, schedule it for this specific time block, and we'll get it done, right? No. Basically, it'd be like, I know I need this much time. Let's say I needed like an hour, right? And let's say I had 8 hours in the day to do the assignment before it was due. I could get it done in any of those hours. But if I don't feel like doing it, I don't have to do it until I have to do it. So you see where the procrastination starts happening, and that skill kind of stays. Now, don't get me wrong, like 99% of the time, it would work in my favor, right? But there's always that 1% where you feel like you have it figured out, and it just doesn't work in your favor. That is very bad. Because then you're consistently thinking, oh no, why did I do this? I know I had this problem. I know I could have solved it. Why didn't I do it before? And just regret. I mean, that's what just happens with the bad habits, right? And again, that's just the mind attacking itself, first feeding into the I guess kind of weakness of just kind of giving into the procrastination off the bat, and then attacking itself for willingly allowing itself to have the bad habits that it pushed to have in the first place, right? And maybe that's just having a weak will. I don't know. But, today it's kind of fixed itself. So the procrastination, that I still procrastinate. I mean, even with this video right here, I gave myself, since the last video till the day you're watching this, to do the video. I didn't write the script till 3 days before it was due. I'm not recording everything till the night before, or I guess day before. You still see sunlight outside. And I'm posting it the day of. So that hasn't fixed itself. I mean, I think I got a good product though. But the perfectionism, I've managed to deal with it a little bit. And it's this rule I like to call the 90% rule. Basically, in my college, an A- is worth the same as an A+, which means getting a 90% in a class is worth the same as getting 100% in the class. Which just basically means, all right, let's do as much as possible to get the 90% so you can kind of chill out when you have enough of a gap. It turns out to be very helpful when you have like a final and you do the math and you're like, oh, I just need a 16% on the final to end with an A. All right, guess I'm not studying. I think I'll be fine. I'll focus on the classes that I do need, right? Using as little effort as possible to achieve the maximum results, that feels like capitalism a lot, doesn't it? Anyways. All right, now we got my newest one. Anger. Never had anger issues. Well, okay, like, you get like video game rage, but it was never like consistent rage. And it's been happening in college right now. I've noticed it in the last semester. I just get emotional a lot easier than I used to. Maybe it's just me festering the thoughts and never feeling allowed to like speak my thoughts to let myself cool off. But it internalizes and it kind of just attacks on my insides, right? So the best way I found to dealing with it without having to talk is just beat the ever-living crap out of this leg until the leg goes numb. Now you tell me if that seems like a healthy thing. No, that's what I figured. Really, the best guess I have for that, it's very short and sweet, is just that I'm human. And being human, maybe that's just something with the way I am now. And it's just something I have to deal with, right? But it has come with its own positive of forcing myself to cool off, right? So like with video games or like watching live sports, what I would always do, and I'd be angry, but then I would keep like trying to enjoy it, and it would just make the anger build up more and more as things kept going more and more wrong. Now I have this very useful habit of just turning it off, walking away, taking a deep breath, and carrying on with my day. Maybe I come back to it. Maybe it's already over. Oh well. I don't know. I don't like feeling that angriness. That doesn't feel like me. Oh, here's a fun one. Probably the strongest one of the four. Who doesn't love good old self-confidence? Funny enough, I like to blame the internet for this one, but not for the way you would think, right? So, I mean, sure, there's apps like Instagram, right, where you can just throw a filter on yourself, or you just post the best versions of yourself, and then people see those best versions of yourself, and they're like, boy, I'm not that, so I feel bad that I don't feel like I'm having this perfect image like this person has, forgetting the fact that there's filters that can make them look better, or the fact that they can stage those photos to make themselves seem a lot more positive than they really are. Because sometimes that mask is important. But no, I don't think that's the reason that got to me. No, my problem is reading stories of other people of negative things happening to them, right? So so it was never people looking perfect. It was looking at people getting harassed, which for whatever reason in this mind right here made me think, you know what? People might judge you for no reason to. They haven't yet, but they could. You have no reason to believe that they would, but they could. So, I mean, it started to affect me a bit. I think this one was probably around middle school. The biggest one was this right here, the smile. I still don't think it's pretty, but I found a better way to smile, right? But back then, it was simply always just, this is all I would do. No teeth, just looks kind of freaky, doesn't it? But with that smile, sometimes I would just do this, and it wouldn't look like it was that big of a smile, so I'd be told to actually smile for like photos. I would do this, and it would look like, even when I would do it, it would look fake, and I would sometimes get, I would get told by family that it looked fake. It was just like, oh, thanks, you're forcing me to smile, and then I'm not happy at the moment, right? I don't know. You want me to put a facade on to show this smile and look happier than I really am, so you can post, the photo of me being happy when I'm not happy. Why fake the emotion and act like I was away when I really am not? Does that make sense? And then, even stronger than the smile is my voice, which is somehow even more surprising. Because, growing up, I did choir a lot, right? So I did choir in middle school. There was a point where it was like a 50 girl to 4, maybe 5 guy ratio. And of those guys, maybe half of them actually tried to sing, and I was part of that half that tried to sing. And then in high school, being a part of a lot of the top choirs. So, I mean, clearly I know how to use my voice, but it's not the singing voice that's the issue, right? For me, it's my speaking voice. And really just my ability to feel like I could enter a conversation and say something meaningful without just kind of like making the attention come to me, right? And changing the topic completely. In a weird way, probably also because of the internet. I didn't feel like I was allowed to have an opinion, which seems weird because freedom of speech exists, but there's also freedom to hate on people for their freedom of speech. And this brain only liked people to be happy. This brain didn't like people being sad and upset and angry. So if I just never said nothing and only agreed to what everyone said, I'd be good. Now, to be fair, I did know how to say no. When people would ask me to do something I didn't want to do, I had no problem just backing away, closing the door. I would maybe struggle to say no, but my actions would kind of demonstrate that, yeah, you know what, I'm good. All right, where was I? Right. Um, you know how like in a video game, there's like that NPC that like starts you on your quest. I felt like an NPC. I felt like I was destined to be somebody that helped a ton of other people achieve their goals, but this person right here didn't matter at all. I was just the one who was supposed to guide everybody else. Which is, it's interesting for somebody who had smarts, did sports, was fine in the arts, to feel like that talent really meant nothing and to feel like that it was only meant to be there to assist other people but not yourself probably isn't the healthiest thing in the world, right? So, yeah, that's something I'm still trying to learn, that, hey, you have this voice for a reason, and it's to speak it. And I'm trying to speak it the best I can. But, like, then again, there's only so much I can do. But I will say there was this one professor about a month ago, right? Because I'm trying to get into the master's program at my college. And I need letters of recommendation. So I asked one of my professors from the first I guess the first 2 semesters I was in college, to write one, because they were part of this part of the honors college. I had taken honors classes, and they're like, sure. It really touched my heart when they specifically brought up the fact that I spoke very well, which, is kind of surprising to me because, I don't really speak. But basically, to sum it up, kind of how my voice is almost surgical in a way, right? I'm very good at entering somebody else's conversation and saying something meaningful, and then I'm very good at backing away and just openly listening. Because listening can be just as valuable as speaking, right? But being able to listen to the conversation and listen to other people talking, and then suddenly being able to just jump in at any point and actually say something meaningful, apparently I just do a very good job at that, and I don't really realize it. So, it just really, it still kind of sticks with me. Because I had to turn in that paper, that letter of recommendation to my college. But it's just like, wow. People are telling me my voice matters more than just that professor. And yet I'm choosing not to think that it does. But, the more you get told, you tell yourself something or get told something, the more you tend to believe it. And that's kind of where my mind's at right now, right? I'm starting to realize that, hey, maybe my voice matters a lot more than I realize it does. So this kind of leads to 2023, right? So everyone at the end of a year tries to make the New Year's resolutions for the following year, right? So kind of to develop my habits, I want to set 3 goals for myself for this year. I think everyone's kind of reasonable to achieve. And I think it will help me build confidence to chase after even bigger goals in 2024. First, YouTube, what you're seeing right now. I want to post 13 videos over the course of the 52 weeks plus 1 day of the next year, right? So every 4 weeks, there needs to be 1 video that comes out. This video can be about me personally, something I do, some way I act, something I have an opinion on. But it has to be done with the feeling of me, right? It has to be something that I want to talk about. Not something that's trending, not something that I think will get good views. No, I need to talk about something that I want, something that makes me. Because really, I got to learn to be a little bit selfish too. It's good to be selfless, but you got to be a little selfish too in order to still enjoy your life, right? Secondly, I just want to talk to people more, right? I get kind of quiet. I'm more introverted than extroverted, I like to think, unless it's in a sport, right? And when sports are happening and adrenaline's happening and I can't really process thoughts, I can be very talkative. But I'll probably, try live streaming still with like Twitch, maybe switch to YouTube, I don't know. But I want to also, apart from just the online relationships, I want to develop personal relationships in the real world a little bit more. Because would you believe communication is actually a very valuable skill, kind of needed for like every every job out there. So not being able to talk or comfortably talk to like anyone, probably not a good thing. And, probably the last thing, and just to sum it up, I just kind of want my 2023 to be happier than my 2022 was. And that's not to say 2022 wasn't a good year for me. But I want 2023 to overall be a better year for me. Whether that's trying more things, whether that's making more relationships, whether that's, simply just accepting the fact the world is such a terrible place sometimes. And I'm just kind of living in it. And I just got to have to do my best to try and live in it and make the most out of it. I got to find some way to make this new year, even better than I set the last one. But regardless, no matter what happens in 2023, I'm just kind of glad I was able to just look at a camera, mic in my face, just speak my mind. Because I don't like to. But I need to. And I know with people, they say it's not a good idea to show all of yourself online. But if I don't show myself, I don't feel like the social media makes sense, right? I get you can make a business out of it. But if you're not being you, then you're just being some character. And there's no reason in pretending to be you if you just want to portray this character. And if you're going to portray this character, then it might be hard for you to split yourself between this character and you in the real world, right? So I'm just glad I got a lot of the stuff off my chest. Leave it in 2022. And quite honestly, I just hope that 2023 is just that much better. So thank you for wanting to spend the last 27 minutes listening to me. And here's to the new year. Oh, I forget how much I hate water.